When you are real in your music, people know it, and they feel your authenticity. That's 𝗧𗏞𗏆. And those words really hit home as we start digging into our source today. We're looking at a review from TATANKA, and it focuses on an acoustic trilogy by singer-songwriter Katy Hanson.
Right, Katy Hanson. She's based down in Hobart, Tasmania, and this TATANKA review really paints a picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Calls her compelling.
It does.
And it draws these interesting parallels, you know?
Yeah.
Like Missy Higgins for the soulful honesty, but then also Pink for that raw vocal power.
Yeah, that Pink comparison definitely jumped out. It suggests like a real edge there.
Exactly, a duality.
And what I found interesting about the review is how it talks about her using acoustic music, you know, that intimacy, to explore some pretty big themes.
Yeah, fundamental human stuff.
Totally. So we're zooming in on 3 tracks the review covers. Don't Tell Me, that's 2016. Then Hiding from 2014.
And going back a bit further.
Right, back to 2012 with What the Hell. And look, our mission here isn't just to, like, rehash the TATANKA piece.
No, we want to go deeper.
Exactly. We want to really unpack what this review shows about her growth, her evolution as an artist, and the sheer power in that authentic sound it keeps mentioning.
Yeah, spot on. Because this trilogy, as the review calls it, it's like a window, isn't it? You get to see an artist's journey, grappling with who they are, dealing with vulnerability, finding strength. And it's all sort of laid bare because it's acoustic, stripped back.
So it's a chance for you listening to kind of witness these themes developing over time in her music.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's start with Don't Tell Me, the 2016 track. TATANKA calls it her mission statement. Uses words like unwavering, defiant. What did you make of that description?
Well, it's the force of it, isn't it? That self-assertion. The lyrics are just so direct.
Right.
A clear, like, refusal to be boxed in or told what to do. The review pulls out lines like, I know who I am.
And don't tell me who to be. Pretty blunt.
Very. And it makes you think, you know, about the conviction it takes for an artist to put that out there, especially maybe earlier on. It's not just saying no, it's claiming your space.
Yeah, owning it. And musically, the review mentions the steady strum of the acoustic guitar, giving it this solid foundation.
Grounded, yeah.
And the description of her voice, sharp, raspy, and unwavering. Wow, you can almost hear that determination just from the words.
You really can.
The review also mentions the production being minimal. How do you think that adds to the track's impact?
Oh, hugely important. That sparseness, right.
Yeah.
By keeping it just probably her voice and the guitar.
Nothing to hide behind.
Exactly. It forces you, the listener, to confront that raw emotion, that direct message, completely head on. No distractions. And if you think bigger picture, it just shows how sometimes, you know, less really is more. Especially when the message itself is that strong.
Yeah. Makes you wonder, like, what was going on for her then? What kind of pressures might have led to such a defiant song?
Good question.
It really taps into that feeling, doesn't it? That moment maybe you've had listening where you just want to push back and say, hang on, I decide who I am.
Yeah, definitely resonates.
Okay, but then the review shifts gears quite a bit when it gets to Hiding, the track from 2014.
Yes, quite a contrast. If Don't Tell Me is a shout, the review calls Hiding more of a whisper.
A whisper, yeah.
An introspective ballad showing a more vulnerable side of her work.
Yeah.
What's your take on that shift?
It's almost jarring, isn't it? To go from that really outward-facing defiance to this very inward, almost fragile kind of feeling. The themes, the review points out fear, pulling back emotionally, wanting acceptance, highlighted by lines like, I'm hiding in the dark.
Yeah, and afraid to let you see me.
It really draws you into a different space. It feels like a different kind of strength, maybe. The courage it takes to show that vulnerability.
I think so. Yeah, precisely. And the music itself, it underlines that shift so well. Well, the review mentions the guitar work. Gentle, finger-picked. That's miles away from the steady strumming in Don't Tell Me.
Much more delicate.
Absolutely. And her voice, described as more delicate, almost trembling. It really sells that confessional tone the reviewer talks about.
And again, sparse production.
Yeah, again, amplifying the intimacy. It's fascinating how she uses, fundamentally, the same tools, voice and guitar, to create such wildly different feelings.
True.
And it makes you ask, right, does seeing this vulnerability later make that earlier defiance in Don't Tell Me seem even stronger, maybe, in hindsight?
That's a really interesting point, like seeing the different sides, the complexity of a person, not just one thing.
Exactly.
Okay, so the final piece the review looks at is the oldest one, What the Hell, from 2012. They call this the most raw and unfiltered,
Yeah, and they use that phrase garage punk energy.
which feels kind of surprising for an acoustic song, right? What did you think when you read Garage Punk?
It is intriguing, yeah. It suggests something urgent, maybe a bit messy, not too polished. And the themes fit that, too. Youthful frustration, rebellion, lines like, what the hell do you want from me?
And I'm not your Pippin. Classic rebellion feel.
Totally. It makes you picture maybe the environment or the experiences fueling that kind of outburst early on.
And the musical description backs that up completely. An aggressively strummed acoustic guitar, so not the finger-picking of hiding.
No, very different energy.
And a biting vocal line. They talk about feeling the emotional overload in her voice. And this idea of an acoustic punk folk crossover, it really paints a picture of someone just pushing hard against things, even just with an acoustic guitar.
Exactly. It's that raw, untamed energy that sounds so captivating, like catching a feeling pure and unfiltered before it's maybe been refined or processed too much.
Yeah.
And connecting that back to you listening. I mean, who hasn't felt that raw frustration, that what the hell moment?
Yeah.
It's such a human thing, and it sounds like she really tapped into it early.
Definitely. So, okay, let's pull it together. We've got these 3 tracks. The defiance of Don't Tell Me, the vulnerability of hiding, and the raw frustration of what the hell? Looking at them as a whole, what's the TATANKA review saying about her overall journey? And really importantly, her authenticity.
Well, the review really stresses that these 3 songs together, they show this compelling arc, both artistically and, personally.
An evolution.
Right. And a key point the reviewer makes is that Hanson doesn't posture or pretend. Instead, she confesses, confronts, and connects.
Confesses, confronts, connects. I like that.
Yeah. And it brings us right back to that 𝗧� quote at the start, doesn't it? About being real. It suggests her authenticity isn't just like a stylistic choice. It's fundamental. It's how she expresses herself.
That idea really comes through strongly in the review, doesn't it? Not putting on an act, just being herself. They keep praising her unwavering authenticity and her willingness to just be real, that's the word they use, when maybe other artists feel pressured to present something more polished or perfect.
Right. It's almost like the rawness we heard about in What the Hell kind of cleared the path, maybe, for the more nuanced stuff later.
Yeah, could be, while still holding on to that core honesty.
Exactly. And it's that genuine quality, that refusal to sort of water down her feelings or her message. That's what the review implies. Lets her music connect so widely.
Yeah.
Beyond just Tasmania.
It's that human core.
Yeah, that core honesty that just speaks to people no matter where they're from. Makes you think, doesn't it? How vital that feeling of realness is when you connect with any kind of art.
Absolutely. So wrapping up this deep dive into the TATANKA review on Katy Hanson, the big takeaway seems to be that this acoustic trilogy gives us this really potent, intimate view of an artist finding her voice.
Moving through these different emotional landscapes.
Yeah, from defiance to vulnerability to that raw frustration. And the thread tying it all together is this unmistakable authenticity that the reviewer clearly admires so much.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
And, that leaves a really interesting thought for you listening. Yeah. Think about your own life, your own journey. How many different tracks or, phases have you lived through? Times you felt bold, maybe defiant. Times you felt hidden, unsure. Times you just wanted to yell, what the hell?
Yeah, everyone has those different moments.
Exactly. And perhaps, maybe like Katy Hanson seems to do, embracing your own realness, your own genuine self, with all the messy bits and imperfections. Maybe that's actually the most powerful way you have to connect.
Yeah.
And to communicate your own unique story.